Hey, what's up, guys? This is Daz with Hyperlink Media. Uh, Coming in to do a live demo of Concentric, a C4D preset. It's Hyperlink's new preset, or if you like to call it a plugin. It's for Cinema 4D. For you Cinema 4D users out there, for your motion graphic artists and things like that, it's a cool tool to like make intros really fast, or bumpers, or commercial ads, animated logos. There's tons and tons of uses, if I do say so myself. So first of all, if you have the preset, hopefully you've already installed it. Comes with an executable file to make the install like really, really easy. Or you can do a manual install. You just send a request to support@hyperlinkmedia.com. But let's see. In the meanwhile, let's jump into it though. So the first thing you're gonna do is go over to your launch your Cinema 4D program. This preset was designed in R18. I have tested it in R19, but I have not tested it in R20. I know they changed a lot of things with the materials and the way that they're, you know, the way that they're handled is a lot different than 18 and 19, and quite a few other changes they made in 20. But hopefully there'll be a second iteration of this preset that will, you know, um, be more compatible with the R20. But like I said, I haven't tested it. It may work, but I'll keep you posted on that. Anyway, let's jump into it. First, we're gonna go over to the content browser here. We're gonna go into presets, and we're gonna go into HMC Concentric version 1. And this little logo here, you're either gonna double click it, or you can just drag it right onto the right out here. And just like that, we have the concentric rig all ready to go. We double click this here to expand the timeline to the 160. And if you press play, you can see that we already have some cool stuff happening. At concentric. And let me explain really quick what's happening here. This here is the rig. And when you click this rig, you'll get lots of options in these tags. Yeah, in the tabs, excuse me. There's This is the main emitter. Then we have beauty, staging, spiel, logo, title. And then we have the main objects for concentric, which are discs, ring, slices, which we're seeing these first three here, disc, ring, and slice, here on the on on the stage right now. So if we would uncheck this, you can see that disappears. Same with the ring. Well, I'm not sure if the ring is there, because we might have to do a little bit of something to get the rings to work. A different seed, and the slices there. There's the slices there that just disappeared. So it's basically a text and objects, and you could create logos also. I'll probably do that. I'm not sure if I have time today, but in in a live maybe later, or a tutorial. But we do have, if you when you purchase Concentric, you have access to Hyperpoint University, and we have hours of tutorials that go in depth with how each piece of this is explained Some of it is a little redundant because a lot of these have a lot of the same properties, but there's a lot of nuance between these as well. So these are the materials down here, but we control the materials through the tabs for the most part. So speaking of these tabs, there's also these quick tabs here. If you want to do something really quick, like enable or disable object, you just click here, or we can enable other objects that we have. Just keep it with the default for right now. And also we can do the spiel. This is the spiel, which is the message that is sending the headline and the tagline. We don't see the tagline right now because this orange indicates that it's enabled. If you click on it, it's disabled. So just like that, you don't have to go and get the spline and take the spline and put it into a extrude and all that type of stuff. All of that is already done. So we're gonna enable the tagline as well. You see we rewind. It's all animating. Concentric C4D preset. Okay. We could just double click this right here and change it to, let's see, get my keyboard here. Uh-oh. Okay. Say to my channel. The main difference is the headline is a 3D text, so it has some thickness and depth. The tagline is a flat text, and it has a lot less options. This is a secondary text. Um, but yeah, just that quick, we change that. And let's say if we want to go into the spiel, we go to the headline. As you can see, there's lots more options here. Um, Lots more than the quick tab of the spiel text. Change the font. Go in here and see, we can open up another font. Let's see which one will be cool in all caps. Change it to something like that. This wouldn't look right in all caps. Of course, that's one of my God. That's one of my pet peeves when people use fonts that are not designed for all caps. Like, you know, this tutorial isn't about that, but um, this one might look cool. Just like nice, clean fonts. This is everybody knows Comic Sans is the devil. So, but Concentric, it doesn't look so bad. Where is it? Do I even have it, or did I just delete it? Comic Sans, here it is. It doesn't look horrible. If you had a chalkboard scene or something like that, it would look fine. Maybe I'll do that at some point. But anyway, my favorite is Typograph Pro, I believe it's called. Where is it? TY. Probably screaming at the screen. Oh, here it is. It's just a nice chunky text, or whatever text you have installed. But the default, if you right click on any property, highlight it, right click it, reset the default, it'll just default back to what it was. As you can see, the spline also can preview what's where the text will end up here. Let's see, we can change the spacing. And of course, all of this is animatable. If this was multiple lines, Um, you can change the spacing of the lines as well. Sure, if it could go negative, probably have to change that in case someone wants to take it further, make it closer. Uh, Change that back to reset to default. Okay. Uh, and when you just render it, we don't even really have any real render settings set up or anything like that yet. But as you can see, just click render and it already looks pretty cool. It's a pretty cool animation already. And the text position is kind of self-explanatory for the headline. You could just move it wherever you need it to go. Reset it default, which is the center. It's not true center, but it's center for this rig. As you can see, it's -70 down. If you could change this to 0, you can see the center. They're claiming the bottom of the text is the center, but I would like the center of the text to be the center. So, which is why I have it offset like that. And you can push the text towards and away. You can rotate the text, different axes with the look you're going after. Okay. Adjust the bevel. Is that blue? Let's see. The depth, of course. You can go beyond this slider, go much further. Want something very odd looking, depending on what you're going after. Yeah, that's kind of cool. And let's bring the text depth. No, let's bring the where rotation. The Z depth. Let's bring that back to where it was. See, we can probably disable a few of these since we're working on this text. It's pretty interesting. Okay, let's see, what else should I bring a lot of this back to? Let's reset a lot of this back to default. Uh, let's go into tagline and let's change that back to the default as well. But you get the picture, how it's done. So with the headline, there's also animation here. Um, Hold on just a second. One dog is whining. I'll be right back. Oh, man, sorry about that. Okay, now where was I? Okay, let's see. This is about to discuss animation, so let's Gonna go back here. As you can see, the text is coming in from behind the camera. It's sort of rotating into position. Has sort of a wiggle. So a lot of this can be controlled here. Let's see what we can control. Now the scale is where the text starts from. So it's -1 is invisible. And the rotation, it's rotating 270 in the Y and I'm sorry, in the pitch and the back and the banking. This is pitch and this is banking. This first one is the header. So if we want to do 180 here, get a little bit of a different animation than what we had previously. You can see. Take these numbers. Let's see how far these numbers can go. 100, that would be pretty extreme. But you can see there's some interesting things. And this position is -3500, which is behind the camera. Do it at 0 and it could just pop in where it will rest. Do it there. Change this, turn this to 0, and so it only has pitch. So it'll sort of flip like a somersault in. And this in and out is already, there's some keyframes that are already in it, but none of these keyframes are really necessary. So you can right click on it and delete the track. But I just have these in there just so you can get started on some cool intros and things like that right away. But this corresponds with this arrow here. Once it goes past the text is in on stage. So if you change that, and let's see, if we go into the track itself, show the track, go to in out here, can move all of this in. It would come in, well, it would go past a lot faster. There, that probably looks even better. I don't think I'll leave it. Okay. Let's see what we have now. This is just one tab. I didn't even go into the looks of this. Just trying to get the animation going. And there's a differential, how much spread between the animation you like. Let's see if you go down. It's a lot closer and tighter together. You can see that was pretty quick, or you can go pretty slow. Depending on what you're after. But as you can see, this did not clear the text, so you'd have to go further with this and make another keyframe here. But I like the differential down a little bit. Okay. Let's see. Then there's the delay strength, which is like the wiggle. Does it just does it have a the wiggle a delay. This is a bit more wiggle. Bring this up to 100 and you'll see difference. Oh, this is like really wiggly, so it's the whole text is just sort of really going off into it, sort of a tailspin. So let's bring that down to something more reasonable. See, it's nice and jiggly. You can get rid of it. Now I'm sure most of you already know how to set this stuff up, but a lot of this stuff takes so much time, which is why I'm always grabbing Concentric whenever I need to do something quick and get it out the door. Mm. Again, let's try to rotate the text as well. Let's see. Rotate the heading of the text. Oh no, that's position. I'm sorry. Reset. Rotate the heading. Text and should come in at on a diagonal sort of. Let's see. Oh, you know what? That's not the rotation of the text. The rotation of the text is up here. Let's try that again. Yeah. Turn that to the side. Maybe skew it this way, that way. See how it comes in. Yeah, the direction it's headed definitely has an impact on which way it's going to go because the effector also rotates with it. So it'll definitely give you a different look, things that you can play around with. But as you can see, it didn't wiggle when it got into place much because of delay strength is at 0. But if you change it back, you can see it's like we got this wave going on, which is pretty cool looking. See what else. Uh, Random strength. You can, instead of these all marching in one single file, you can sort of offset the way these look. And of course, once again, all of these properties are animatable. You can start it off like this and with that random strength. And you can sort of let it settle in, pull it down and add another keyframe here. So now it's sort of gradually going into the single file thing. Let's put the rotation back to where it was. Let's see. And the animation speed, when it's the random strength, see the speed. Let's see the speed. Let's delete this track because it wasn't animated before. Yeah, it didn't have keyframes before, so we're just gonna delete it. You can see the speed. See the speed once it settles. Or you can bring the speed up, make it more chaotic. Yep, you get the idea. Bring that back. And the scale, the animation scale, is sort of the relationship between this one from this one, from this one, from this one. So it's sort of the noise gets enlarged. But as you can see, this is they become more different. The relationship sort of becomes a lot less, what do you call it? A lot less harmony between the letters. You bring that all the way up. You bring it further past that, and you can sort of see how this is kind of wanting to curve. Yeah, so that's what we mean by animation scale. Bring that up a little bit more so you can. It's a lot more of a gradual, sort of not so jarring, random animation. And of course, you can animate that down or animate the random strength down to bring it back into marching order. Of course, we also have dynamics for the text. So if I were to click play, probably wouldn't see any text because maybe you will, because we have the follow rotation and follow position at 10. But if it was at 0, the text wouldn't even fly in because it's falling behind the camera. So what we'd have to do is, bring it back to reset to default. And then you'll see it trying to fight gravity, sort of bump into each other, sort of try to find its position very gradually. Um, or you can have it a lot less than this, and it will be a lot slower to find its position. So you probably need a lot more frames than this. Oh, well, that that worked out pretty good though, actually. But as you can see, the spline, the text spline here is the actual position, but it never really finds that. It lazily just gets in where it fits in. But see, as you strengthen that, it will actually go up to the spline. Try to fit in there a lot better. Yep. So then let's see, we have the poly effects. We can turn that on and it will just, make these little particles, which you could change the scatter. You can scatter them out. This is a good way to, if you have depth of field on. In fact, since I brought it up, let's go into content browser and go into the render tab and we'll grab standard. And while in standard, we'll go into depth of field and use distance blur. And it's not much depth of field, but bring this up to 10 or even more exaggerated, like 12. You see the ones further back starts to get blown out. Now, if we enable luminance, it would be a lot more blown out than that. But let's see, there was something I was about to say. Oh, as far as the depth of field, we have something cool here in the camera called the focus grid. So you can literally pull focus where you want the focus to be. You can visually see. It's hard to do it with the poly scatter, so we'll disable that. Maybe bring that back down to set to default. So say you can see where it clips through the text there. And so with the focus grid here, the text, we're expecting the text to be blurred out with the depth of field. As it's working, you can see that it's nice and blurred. And then once you get to, if you sort of grab the number, you can really be a lot more precise. This slider can be a little crude and you can shoot past where you're trying to get to, but you can grab this number and sort of scoot it just where you like the text, just where it's just peeking through the focus grid. And this should be in focus, but you can tell the background got blurred a bit. Now, if I enable some more of the objects, like these other objects here, and push those objects back into, see, push those objects back behind the text a bit further. Just try to get a good shot here. Okay. Those should be blurred out and the text should be in focus. Okay, so I hope you guys can see how powerful this is. I'm just gonna go through the spiel today probably, and wrap this up in a bit. We've been on what, a half hour. Maybe I can do another tab, but the tagline, it's a lot less options, but you know you can make the tagline bigger. Of course, you can have, you know, more text than this. Space the characters out. If there was more lines, you can space the lines. And this hide and reveal is, there's a fade here, a fade. So it will fade in and out. And then the hide and reveal has to do with the mask. It will mask the text. Let's see. I can grab this and try to see. It'll slice through the text. If you go back this way, it'll slice through that way. So, and of course, this text could be positioned anywhere as well. And the depth, bring it closer and further away. And again, the heading, the pitch. Now, the pitch for this text, if it's off Z depth, if it's off 0, it will rotate around the axis of the offset. But if it's at 0, then it will rotate the way you'd expect it to. Just about. Anyway. Once again, it's a different thing. So you can you can see you can do a barn door sort of effect that you see with a lot of lyric videos and stuff. And that's pretty much it for spiel. Okay, and before, actually, let's enable. That one. Okay, so let's go back to let's try to first let's get rid of the focus grid because we've done that. And let's go over to beauty. There's an object beauty. The objects are the objects that are behind this text. We'll just disable the text for right now. Be a little bit more into these objects here. Now the object color, this is the color. You can change the color of the object by selecting. Let's see, I usually like to select like that. But as you can see, the objects did not change. And that's because the color blending is at 100%. So it's only using the colors from this color swatch here. So we can pull that back, and then we have the pure blue. We can go in the middle, and it will sort of multiply the main color with these colors. Choose another color. Let's see. And then there's things like color dance and low clip and high clip and color turbulence, and all of that stuff is described in great detail at the Hyperlink University at hyperlinkmedia.com. You have access as an alumni when you purchase Concentric. All of the instructions on how to log in and how to get access to those videos is definitely in there. But I'm just sort of skimming over here. You can let's see, you can add a texture onto your shapes. If you go back in here, I have a few textures that included, I believe. Let's see, these are the materials. Maybe some in here. It might not be there, so I might have to go into load one up. But you can just load up a texture in here, and it'll be like an overlay here. See what else. Oh yeah, let's the color swatch itself. Bring this back up to 100%. The color swatch, you can twirl this down here and load a different preset. Want like some rainbow type of color. And you can change the cubic knots to none. And then you have a more of a staccato. Or bring it back to smooth knot, and then it's more of a gradient. And that makes a difference in how the colors turn on and off. As you can see, they sort of fade in and out. Whereas if you change it to none, they sort of pop in and out more. You see it's more coarse. And see, you can adjust the random levels. Let's say you want to crunch one of these colors out, or you only want to feature a certain color. You can sort of play with that. The color dance. Yeah, sorry about saying so many times. If you bring that up, they'll dance a lot faster. Bring it down, it's a lot slower transitions. You can see subtle. And you're going to do a random seed of the colors to find the right color that you're looking for, or the look, or whatever. And again, you can load a texture in here. Right now I have the blank text, a blank texture in there, so there's nothing on top. And if you want these reflective, then enable reflection. It's not really reflecting against anything right now. And that's because of our environment. We'd have to put a sky in, and you see more reflection. We can make this transparent. Now, I would caution you about using the transparency because these are lots of layers of shapes, and if it has to bounce through a bunch of times, of course, everybody knows with transparency in the standard renderer, it could just really just eat up your render time. So just be aware of that. As you can see, the focus though is not really where these objects are. So we grab the focus grid and bring that back to where the objects are more. Okay, like that. All right. Yeah, I'll go to 8 o'clock because a lot of times when I get in this preset, I'm just playing around and just toying around. It's just kind of fun to do, just to sort of discover different things that you can do with it. But yeah, the transparency, make it a lot more or less, control the opaque and transparent nature of it. The IOR, if you have something, if you have the numbers for like a diamond or like oil or any transparent, translucent material, you can plug that number right in. And the prism, I'd have to explain that in a different one, but it's sort of, it gives sort of a rainbowy kind of vibe to like bubbles and things like that. We have the luminance, so these objects will illuminate. They will sort of be a light source as well, which can be, tell that a lot when you enable global illumination if there was an object behind it. So we can grab a floor. We'll put a floor down. You might be able to see with the global illumination. You'll be able to see the color bleeding on the floor there. You can adjust the brightness of the luminance, make it a little more obvious. And then strength, take it beyond. Let's try to do that again, so you can see the difference on the floor. And you see that's a lot brighter. And with motion blur, it makes like these really cool streaks and things like that. Let's sort of see. This sort of looks like. Yeah, so you can see a little faint light that is casting here on the floor. Speaking of the floor, we can bring up the elevation, bring it to a ceiling, maybe make this a water texture and make this an underwater scene or something like that. Or let's see, we go to staging and floor here. We can turn it into a wall instead of a floor. And then we can adjust the Z depth, get towards or from. This is cool to cast shadows. First, let me disable GI because it takes a little while. You can cast a nice cool shadow on the back of the wall. And tons and tons and tons of options for this. But let's get something cool going here. Let's bring up the number of objects. Ring and slice. We're not seeing the ring right now, and the reason for that is I'm gonna bring the group of the slices up. Bring the group of the this up. We're not seeing a bunch from. We're not seeing a ton from of actually we're not seeing any rings at all, and that is because we go to the main, we'd have to find the right seed that features the rings. Looks like the rings are there now. Let's go over, try to bring them up a bit. Yeah. And for each of these objects, we have particles, and we could change the thickness, the size, animate them on and off and in and out. Let's bring this up, bring that up. You can see we got some really cool looking stuff now. But this is tons of layers behind each other because the count here is 20, and this emitter is emitting all these other emitters. So if this count is high, as well as this count is high, these are being multiplied. So you can also just disable this and just have the true count of these, and you can go with that. And that's cool also. But if you want to expand it further, let's see. You can see you can't see a bunch of reflection, and that's because first of all, these are flat objects. So if we were to enable the pipe, let's say, bring in a bunch of pipes and the scale up or what have you. Now you can sort of see that it's reflecting the objects around it. You sort of get the reflection, and again, you can change the thickness of the particles. You could change the rotation there, the radius, and the thickness. Get really thick, really thin. And see, something else that's really cool is if you go down into a particle, you can enable the wireframe. So it gives you sort of a interface sort of look. And this goes with all objects, and that includes well, almost all objects. That includes your custom objects. If any of these objects don't suffice, we have a custom mesh, and you can just bring your object. Let's see, we'll grab a platonic. We'll drag that in there. First, let's go to the top view and push that behind the camera, the initial particle. We're going to push that behind the camera so it's not in the center of the scene. And we can enable the custom mesh and bring a number in and bring up the radius. And we got a custom mesh going on here. Okay, let's see. What do we got? Like 10 minutes left. So, pretty sure you can see how powerful this is and how creative you can get with this. This sort of, whenever you press play, it just sort of just looks interesting no matter what. Of course, the background, I usually just use a middle gray just to get started, but you can change the background here, the staging. Environment, lighting, camera, staging. All of that is under the camera background and floor and wall. That all of that is in the staging, and the beauty addresses the look of your scene. Staging addresses, you know, it's sort of self-explanatory. We have lights. We have a warm light. We can move these lights around, change the color. These lights, and change a bunch of things about it. You have a glint or a glare. Now you'd have to have standard, and the lens effect. It should be automatically enabled when you go into folders here that we've provided. The render folder, we have a physical and we have a standard. So I haven't been able to get the lens effects to work in physical, so those are basically for standard. I'm just sort of going around, just trying to point out a few things. Uh, let's see. Dash. Yeah, dashes can be really cool. Bring up dashes and sort of exaggerate the height of these. Make them like the width really skinny. Or you can animate the width closed, you know. You can get some really cool animations with very minimal effort. Just disable a lot of these other ones. Let's see. Let's disable custom mesh. Those are okay. Let's get more dashes in there. And then let's say this is 40, and then if you enable this again, then that is 40 times 20. So have to sort of be careful with that. Dots are cool. We have planar dots and radial dots. Let's see. Let's bring the radial out so you can see the dots here. What you call it? Get random strength here if you want all the dots to kind of be same size and things. You have a random Z depth where you can push them towards and away from the camera. Most of these objects have a random Z depth as well. We have spheres. This is a really cool one. Let's address spheres real quick. We got about 5 minutes. Get rid of the focus grid. I'm gonna get rid of the custom mesh as well. Just gonna address the spheres. Turn on these spheres. Oh, bring these up. See the sphere group scale. Of course, the particles, we can change the size. The spheres, we can make a wireframe spheres. And we can control the segment of the spheres. If you want like little diamonds or something, little squares, definitely can do that. Let's see. But lots of cool. Like I say, a lot of these are kind of redundant. Animation speed and scale we went over. The sphere's group rotation, it can rotate around. But my favorite part of the spheres is the blobify mode. So you can click that, sort of becomes blob. Bring what do I do with the rotation? Let's set that to default. You can see it's kind of blobby, and you can smooth out the blob. It's a little jagged. As you can see, though, the blob actually, this light here is the reason why this scene looks purple. So we can go back to lighting, change that back to default. We got a warm, a cool, and an ambient in the center. Let's go back to spheres. And let's bring size up a little bit. So, it's sort of a liquefy sort of type situation. And it's blue because if we go back into the beauty, the last color here is blue. If we take that off, now it's that color. If we move this color over, it will be that color. So if you want to change the color of the blobify, the blobs, that's how it's done. Oh, yeah, that's pretty cool. So I'm gonna wrap this up. I'll go into more depth at another point in time. Oh, before I wrap it up, let's sort of go into the how to color this text here. That is also in the beauty tab. So the main is actually the profile of the text. So we can grab another color and change that. And we have the text cap, which is the front and the back. Let's try to go dark. And we have the bevel. We can just grabbing random colors. What I found with this rig is even with random colors, for some reason it still sort of looks pretty special. This looks a little bit hazy, and that is because this light here has a lot of ambient lighting. Well, the lighting actually has some visibility. So we can bring the visibility scale down. We can make it confined to this circle here instead of the whole scene. You can sort of swallow it up, but sometimes that may be what you're after. Yeah, so if you kind of get it. Also, let me see, we also have some example scenes that you can grab. We have the amoeba, steampunk, default, and we have a wild cherry energy drink sort of what you call it. So you can grab one of these and just sort of get started even faster than that. But as you can see, we're going to wind down here. So I'm going to end this live in a moment. I'm going to hop back over to YouTube just to see if anybody's there, or if you have to catch the playback. I have to grow my audience a little bit more. But anyway, I appreciate you hanging out with me at any rate. So if you want this rig, you just head over to my website at www.hyproinc.net. And there we have a 50% off coupon, which actually expires tomorrow. I just checked it and it does expire tomorrow. So you'd have to run over there and grab it. The offer code, I believe, is Cyber50, CYBER50, which is half off this rig. And, I hope you enjoy it and have fun with it and create some cool special stuff. And I would definitely look forward to seeing what you guys come up with Let me just change the background color because I sort of touched on it, but I didn't actually do it. And also there's before I go, let me just say that you can see this sort of gradient back there. That's the psych. But if you just like just a flat color, the pure color that you selected, you could just dial the psych back. Psych is just sort of is to simulate a seamless floor to wall transition. So yeah, fun stuff, and you can put an image in here. You can do all sorts of stuff. But next time I'll address some of that other stuff. Anyway, let's hop over to YouTube and see where we are. Okay, not really sure, but yeah. Well, this is going to be the end of this broadcast. So um. Thank you guys for stopping by to check out this live demo. I've been having so many technical problems. I was supposed to do this yesterday. It was it was it just didn't work out because I didn't know you have to wait like 24 hours before your first live. And so here we are 24 hours later, and then my sound card just sort of, I don't know, it just malfunctioned or something. I wasn't getting sound or anything, so I had to reboot a few times to get to this point. So hey, but we're here now. But anyway, it's been an hour. I wasted an hour of your time. But thank you guys so much for for coming in and watching the live or the replay or whichever it was. And I hope to see you guys next time. I'm Daz with Hyperwink, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.